Well, welcome to Voices of the Valley, part of the Valley Hoops Insider podcast and website. I'm Harry Schroeder. You can see there on the camera Jevin Redman. He is the play-by-play voice of the Evansville Purple Aces. So glad that you're with us today. Going to talk some Valley Hoops, talk about the Purple Aces, and get to know Jevin just a little bit better. You can find him at Twitter at Jevin_13. So, of course, my first question is, what's the 13? It's part of your email. It's part of your Twitter handle. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's not a real interesting story or anything. That was just my number whenever I played, growing up as a kid and throughout high school, and it's always stuck with me. So I've got two older brothers, one of which played some college basketball. He wore the number 13 as well. Oldest brother wore 33. I don't know. I stuck with 13 and just always use that number. So not an interesting story, but that's why I use it.
We'll take it. How long for you doing play-by-play there for Evansville? And tell us a little bit about how you ended up joining the Purple Aces.
Sure. So this is my fourth year with the University of Evansville. And actually 4 years ago, whenever I started, was the first time they got affiliated with Learfield Sports, and they had a radio network. So before my time at the University of Evansville, I was at Western Kentucky University doing women's basketball and actually filled in for football and play-by-play for one season in the fall, and then came back home. I'm from the Evansville area, from a small town about 25 minutes west of Evansville, Mount Vernon, Indiana. Went to high school there, and then went to college at the University of Southern Indiana, which is also in Evansville, their Division II. My first year out of college, I lived in Louisville, did AAA baseball with the Bats. They're the affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds. Went to WKU for a year, and then once this job opened back up again with Learfield Sports, a radio network, thought it was a good opportunity, and now I'm in my fourth year.
It's got to be your passion, because AAA baseball isn't that far away from Major League Baseball, so you got to think basketball is actually the passion.
Yeah, and I really enjoy college sports. Minor league baseball, I don't think it's a secret to anybody, the money is not great when you work in minor league baseball, whether you're a player, whether you're a manager or just an employee. But, I went through really 2 years of minor league baseball. So when I was in college, I did Evansville Otters baseball, and that's the Frontier League. So I kind of had the bottom of the minor leagues and the top of the minor leagues. And after I got kind of a taste in college sports, I really enjoyed the atmosphere there. And I kind of like being a part of a community. To be honest, I felt like doing minor league baseball, you were somewhat isolated. And at that level, yes, they're trying to win, every game, but it's a very individualized sport, and guys are trying to progress. So winning's not the top priority necessarily. And when I was broadcasting those games, it just wasn't as exciting to me. Calling games where I thought, well, man, they're just worried about themselves essentially. But the college atmosphere is fun. You're part of a community. People recognize your name and voice with that university, and you get to know more people. So I've really enjoyed the college route, and it also allows me to do multiple sports, doing basketball, doing baseball, and then some TV work for volleyball and softball.
And Evansville's not a bad place to live. It's it's a neat community, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's big enough and it's small enough for me to where, you can get away, but also, enough people. So again, I grew up in the area, so very familiar with Evansville, knew a lot of people, and I've really enjoyed my time so far.
I want to talk a little bit about the Purple Aces as well, but first, just your take, Jevin, on how difficult this whole pandemic thing has been for coaches, players, broadcasters, not as much certainly, but those that are deeply involved, start, stop, have to sit, all that. So talk a little bit about what you see as the wear and tear on the Purple Aces coaches and players.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. And really at the start of this year, we knew we were going to have some protocols and have to wear masks and be cautious, but really thought, hey, we're over the hump and we'll have a somewhat normal basketball season. That's really changed the last few weeks. So it's just difficult because you don't know, who you're going to have, and you can't get into any type of groove. So for example, Evansville went 25 days without playing a game before they played Northern Iowa this past Sunday. And that's just difficult for a team, especially that has a lot of young guys. They're trying to get experience and get into a type of groove. So it's been very difficult for every single program, but for Evansville in a rebuild type of mode, it makes it much more difficult. So they're doing the best they can. And just like, for example, this week, if you have some guys that are close contact, one of our coaches kind of joked the other night is, I don't know who's going to be on our practice schedule, who's going to show up at practice tomorrow, because guys get close contact, they're out. So it's just very tough. And actually Evansville's next opponent, Indiana State, they're going through that as well. They had some guys out against Bradley. So it's tough for everyone, but I think when you're in a rebuild and a lot of young players trying to get experience, it makes it even more difficult.
Todd Lickliter's been there on and off over the last several years, almost your entire time there.
Yeah.
Talk about him. He can't be just as nice and as warm as engaging as he really is. So take us to the dark side of Todd Lickliter.
So the Todd you see whenever you interview him is how he is 24/7. I mean, he's great. He's very easy to work with as a broadcaster. He gives you in-depth answers. I like because he fills time on coaches shows. He knows what he's doing. It's not his first rodeo, but
that's right.
I've been very lucky in my career. I haven't been around too many coaches that, have been difficult to work with in the sense of, oh, hey, they have a tough loss, they take it on someone else, or they're rude to you on the post-game show. I mean, whether Evansville wins or loses, if it's a close loss, a blowout loss, Todd comes on, gives me his 5 to 10 minutes, every single game, gives me his honest opinion. And I've really enjoyed that about him. And one thing that I really appreciate about Todd, too, is he cares about you away from basketball and away from broadcasting. I'll never forget, I'll tell a quick story. So when he came back, I guess, what was it, about 2 years ago, when the whole Walter McCarty situation went down, he was fired, and then Todd was hired in the middle of the season. I knew Coach Lickliter from my first year doing Evansville games. He was an assistant on Coach McCarty's staff. And so anyways, he comes back, and I hadn't seen Coach Lickliter in over a year. Meet him in the coach's room. We're getting ready to play Drake in about an hour and a half, and we sit down and had about a 30-minute conversation, just how things are going. He remembered, hey, I referee basketball. How's the family? How's the day job going? And then all of a sudden, I looked at my watch as a coach. I said, we're kind of getting close to tip-off. We better knock out this pregame interview. So he's just a person that cares about you, when you're at basketball, away from basketball, and that's something I've really appreciated.
Yeah, I'm so blown away by his just guilelessness and his approach to the game and the players and people like you and I. How is the overall health? You were mentioning the close contact and all that. How are the Purple Aces from your vantage point in terms of COVID or injury? Just give us the latest in that regard.
Well, things can change quickly, but from the last time I was around them on Sunday at UNI, we were pretty well 100% healthy, which was good. Had 12 players available. Had one guy that stayed back that I believe was in some COVID health safety protocol, but he hasn't played yet this year. So everyone that has been in the rotation was healthy. Now, Evansville battled some injuries outside of COVID the first month. Juwan Newton rolled his ankle right before our first exhibition game, and I think it took him several weeks to get back into form. Shamar Givens has been banged up some. Evan Kuhlman with the shoulder injury. So they haven't been completely injury-free away from COVID, but it's good to see everyone get healthy for the conference season, and hopefully they can kind of get back on track here soon.
I'm a big Shamar Givens fan, and he's the Purple Aces leading scorer, but came off the bench on Sunday. Have any thoughts about just what coach is trying to figure out, maybe just figure out rotation, or, who knows, but just tell us a little bit about the team right now, 4-9, 0-2 in the league. As you mentioned, kind of rebuilding, trying to figure some things out, but veterans at the core. But, so anyway, give us a little bit about what you think is going on with that rotation.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, because we talk about a rebuild, but you have 4 seniors in the starting lineup, and it's just the guys coming off the bench are very raw and just haven't been here very long. So it's tough to win the Valley when you really only have 4 or 5 veterans and can't go 8 or 9 deep with your bench. But as far as Shamar Givens, man, what a change he had last year as far as improvement, really shooting the basketball, and that's something he struggled with his first 2 years here at Evansville. He's a smaller guy, so it's tough for him to score at the rim. Yeah, he's quick and get around defenders, but his first 2 years just struggled scoring at the rim. So he had to develop a mid-range jumper, and he also shot the 3 ball well last year. He's the catalyst. He's kind of what the offense runs through. As far as him not starting on Sunday, I would anticipate he starts on Wednesday against Indiana State. It was a very minor thing, coach's decision. He came in after about 6 or 7 minutes anyways in the first half and still played 20-plus minutes. So nothing major there. He'll be back in the rotation. But I tell you what, Blaze Beauchamp, one of our JUCO transfers, he shot the ball really well. He scored 14 points, played a season-high 29 minutes at UNI on Sunday. And for Blaze, over his last 5 games, he is shooting 45% from 3, came from Lincoln Trail Community College over in Illinois. And he's a guy that I think has probably stood out the most as far as new faces of making strides in this Evansville team. And really excited to have him here for several years, and think he'll be a big contributor for the next couple of years. But really the offense runs through Shamar Givens, and he's played well the last month or so.
I always think, just watching your team as I have over the last, number of years with that kind of core that's around, if there was a significant big man, it would be a pretty dynamic team, meaning Shamar and Juwan can drive the basketball. They're good enough at shooting it from outside. Kuhlman and Frederick King do a number of good things, but they're not going to take over a game. if you had that 1-6-9 guy that could be a force in the middle, all of a sudden it's a dramatically different team. Do you agree?
Absolutely, and that's what they're trying to find, is that missing piece and a big guy down low. They got Ian Inaruna last year, another JUCO transfer, and really I thought he progressed well last year. And my thought was, okay, give him a true offseason with these coaches, let him develop some more during the summer, and see what he does in year 2 at Evansville. And not to be too harsh, but he's kind of been disappointing with what he's done so far this year on the court, and his minutes have really deteriorated. They've kind of transitioned to the freshman Blake Sisley, who was an Indiana All-Star last year, a local kid about an hour away at Heritage Hills High School. He's starting to see more minutes, but it's not fair to him. He's not ready to take on 20, 25 minutes. I know fans want to see that, but he's just not quite there yet from a conditioning standpoint, and also a skill standpoint, and still learning. So, yeah, if they had a guy, and not even a guy that could take over the game in the sense of he's going to score 12 or 14 a night, just someone that you can throw the ball to when you get late in the shot clock to relieve some stress on the point guards. And our fans, they kind of throw a fit because I don't know what the stat is, or if there is even a stat, but we probably lead the Valley in shot clock violations. And Coach Lickliter's kind of joked about that. He said, we don't do it intentionally, but when you don't have a post guy to throw it to and release some of those guards, everybody can switch that on the perimeter, and all of a sudden you're down to 12 seconds of shot clock, and you've got to run something quickly. So that's the missing link. If they get a big guy, I really think they'd be pretty competitive.
Yeah, coaches talk about paint touches, and if you can't throw it into the guy in the paint, it's pretty difficult. 320 percentage from deep, so the team isn't hitting him deep. But you're a plus team in steals and turnovers, and that probably has a lot to do with Shamar and Juwan. So what are they trying to hang their hat on right now? This is how we're going to be successful.
That's a great question. I think we're still trying to figure that out a little bit. But you mentioned the 3-point shooting percentage, and the casual fan might say, well, if you're shooting so low, why do you keep shooting? I mean, over half of Evansville shots come from the perimeter. Again, back to our last point of they don't have a big man to throw it to. So what are their options? They have to keep shooting it. So last year, Evan Kuhlman shot 40% from 3. Noah Frederking shot 40% from 3. This year, Frederking is well under 30%, and Kuhlman is right around 30%. So that's a pretty big difference. And last year, this team finished 5th in the conference. I know it was a unique year, and some guys are out on other squads, but I think they really overachieved last season. And they also had a grad transfer for 1 year, Jack Levitch, who shot the ball very well. He's not with us anymore. So that's 3 guys that were shooting right around 35, 40% that have not shot the ball at that level this year. And again, you don't have a post guy, so that's been the main difference. So as far as hang your hat on something, I mean, they still pride themselves on defense.
They're holding people under 70, yeah.
Right. They keep themselves in games because they play good defense, and they rebound fairly well for their size. But offensively, I don't know what else they can really do. They just have to make shots, as simple as that sounds, because Harry, they don't turn the ball over. Their last 5 or 6 games, they're averaging below 8 turnovers per game. And they're getting fairly open looks. I asked Coach Lickliter on the coaches show last night, I said, are you happy with the shot selection? Do you think you're taking the same shots as you were last year? And he said, really, I do. We went back and statted some things. I think it was 12 shots, 12 clean looks that they were very pleased with that Evansville didn't make on Sunday. So bottom line is they have to make the 3 ball if they want to compete.
The Purple Aces. When I type in GOP in my search engine, it goes straight to Go Purple Aces. It doesn't go to the Republican Party. Love what Coach Lickliter is doing there. Love that community and the long, great basketball tradition in Evansville. And I'm always advocating for the short sleeve shirts to come back because everybody else in basketball is wearing short sleeve shirts again. So I would love to see them do that. 5 quick questions. This is kind of a lightning round kind of a thing. You ready for this?
All right, I'm ready.
So number 1, give us a 1-minute scouting report. The matchup against Indiana State for Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Indiana State is under a first-year head coach. Coach Schertz has done a really good job, I think, with what he's been dealt. He got a few guys to move over with him from Lincoln Memorial. Actually saw his team play in the D2 Final Four at Ford Center last year. Did some freelance work for CBS behind the scenes and got to watch them play. So it's an up-and-down tempo. They're very offensive-oriented. So I think for Indiana State, they probably want to try to run you out of the gym. Evansville's going to try to slow it down and keep it in the 60-point range. Cooper Neese has shot the ball very well and scored at a high level for Indiana State. He's been very surprising, at least from my perspective. They're battling some COVID issues. I know they only had 8 scholarship players against Bradley, but still won on Sunday. We'll see what Evansville has. Hopefully everyone's still healthy. But I think if Indiana State still has those guys out, COVID protocol, Evansville is healthy, it could be a really good game.
And those two communities aren't super far away. Is there a Evansville, Indiana State rivalry?
Yeah, a little bit. Indiana State is nominated. They've won, I forget what the stat is, last 8 or 9 games against Evansville. Evansville hasn't won since I've been here against Indiana State, so maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I should send someone else. But yeah, it's a short trip, up north, a little less than 2 hours from my place. And normally a handful of Evansville fans travel. Indiana State, the same doing. They come down to Ford Center. So it's a friendly rivalry and always fun when they play each other.
Love the Ford Center. Question number 2. What about Todd Lickliter? What is there about Todd Lickliter that we don't know?
Well, that's a good question because as far as his, personal life, we haven't, dove into that too much. But the one thing I always want to share with Coach Lickliter is he is very process oriented. So when you don't necessarily get the results you want from a win-loss perspective, for example, right now they're 4-9, and we had this conversation, on Sunday after the game. He's still seeing the steps that are needed to be taken in order to get to where they want to. So again, while his job is to win games, his focus is trying to take those steps, continue to improve to get to where they want to be here next year or in 2 years. And he doesn't get too caught up on what's happening right now, wins and losses.
Jevin Redman's go-to 3-point basket call or a big two-handed dunk. Do you have any go-to things that you punch out there?
Yeah, so for the 3-point field goal, normally the first one of the game, I say kaboom to break the ice. That's something I started in college. Again, it's not unique. Other guys use it. But it wasn't forced. I just kind of said it one game. I said, well, I think it sticks for me. Some people like it. Some people don't. I used to use it about every 3, but I've kind of cut back on that. So kaboom on the first 3 of the game, and if it's a big 3. And then on a dunk, I like to say a thunderous dunk of the 2-hand slam. That's kind of my 2 go-tos.
All right, good enough. I love to hear what other guys say and what they do. Your favorite Valley place to go announce a game if it's not the Ford Center?
Yeah, so I'm actually give you 2 answers. Favorite arena has to be Missouri State's. I think that's the nicest in the Valley. As far as road trip in total, I really enjoy Loyola because, well, one, you're in Chicago. You get Chicago pizza. I enjoy the arena. It's this is not a knock on the arena, but it's a fun-sized arena. I think it's perfect for the Valley. When they get students in there, it's very, very loud, a couple thousand people. And the staff at Loyola, great to deal with. I'm kind of bummed they're leaving the Valley. But from a total perspective, as far as the entire trip, I'd say Loyola is my favorite.
Bill Barron's there. The SID is a great guy. They do treat people spectacular. And the Gentile Arena, I think, is maybe not the perfect size, but it's a good size. Because they're just on you, and there's just, if it's full, it's crazy.
Well, and I'll never forget, I think my first trip there, they didn't have many students or something, but my second trip up there, it was packed with students. So whatever, it's fairly calm before the game. They've got music playing, and all of a sudden they played some hype song right before the tip-off, and all those students started stomping their feet on, I guess it's the metal bottom of those bleachers, and you talk about loud. It was incredible.
I love those kind of home court advantages. Okay, so if you weren't a broadcaster, what would Jevin Redman be doing?
Oh, man, might be homeless. I don't know if I have any skill or not. But you know what? So growing up, I had a couple of things that always came to my interest. One was being a pilot. For some reason, airplanes and airports always fascinated me. I don't know if I'm smart enough to be a pilot. But the other one was possibly a meteorologist. That's kind of in the broadcasting field. Those 2 things were also on my radar growing up. But stuck with broadcasting, that was always the dream. And one thing I do off the side is I do referee basketball at the high school level and some JUCO women's basketball. First year doing that. So I keep busy during basketball season, doing the UE games and also refereeing hoops.
It's amazing what guys like you and me, what we have to do to kind of keep the plates spinning sometimes. Isn't that
Sure.
right?
It is, yeah. But you know what? I tell people, I'm fairly busy throughout, especially basketball and baseball season, but I enjoy what I do. So all the gigs that I have, I don't really dread going to one. So yeah, I'm busy, but I'm never bored.
So when the OVC comes there, you're in St. Louis at Arch Madness. But does Evansville really embrace the OVC tournament?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think people from the OVC love Evansville as well. You've seen some of the crowd size, and they've been fortunate. Murray State had Ja Morant the 1 year playing in the championship, and Belmont's typically good. That's not a far trip for them as well. So crowds have been very good at Ford Center for the OVC. I know local businesses enjoy it because they see a boost in their revenue, especially around Ford Center downtown. I always try to stop by because I believe that starts on a Wednesday and the Valley starts on a Thursday. So I'd always pop in and maybe catch a game or 2 there on the Wednesday. And then if we're back for Saturday, the championship game. But yeah, everyone here in Evansville loves the OVC tournament.
It's a great tournament, and yeah, the Murray State people love. It's kind of like Murray North, I think, for them. They feel like it's their home court. And final, I'm always looking for gossip. So, what are you guys hearing in Evansville about Murray coming to the Missouri Valley, or any other kind of expansion talk? Are you hearing anything fun in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, I think just for the most part, kind of what we see on social media and what you've heard. I mean, I think Murray State would be a great addition to the Valley. I'm glad Belmont, is coming as well. We actually played Belmont in a non-conference game back in November, and first time to that arena. Thought it was the perfect size, a great atmosphere, beautiful campus. Again, I never been there, didn't realize where it was at in perspective to downtown Nashville. Very easy drive. So glad they're going to be in the Valley next year. I think Murray State makes sense. We'll see what happens. And I guess the other gossip in town from a Division I perspective, which could involve the OVC, is my alma mater, USI, has kind of leaked some stuff. They might be going Division I. I think we'll know more in the coming months here. Probably, I was told maybe toward the end of the month of January and February as far as whether it's officially true or not. But USI possibly going D1. How does that affect Evansville having two Division I teams in the same city? And what conference do they join? So there is some gossip out there. I guess we'll see how it plays out.
I love gossip. I do. But you didn't hear that about Southern Indiana maybe moving D1 and perhaps jumping straight into the OVC could be interesting. Jevin, appreciate your time. Always love to connect with the guys that are doing the work out there with the teams that we love to follow. And man, because I'm a big Todd Lickliter fan, I just want them to soar. I'm bad like that. I become really attached to coaches. And I start rooting for particular coaches. Obviously in your situation, you're supposed to pull for them. You're supposed to do that. But he's an easy guy to pull for, and I really hope the Purple Aces ascend.
He really is, and the entire staff that he has assembled.
Got a great staff.
Logan Ballman's been here for a while. He's associate head coach. He brought in Brandon Crone and Thomas Jackson, a couple of Butler players. So it's a mini Butler staff we kind of joke about, but they treat people the right way. It's very enjoyable to be around. And yeah, when you're around good people like that, you want to see them do well. And the city of Evansville, they still support Evansville, whether they have 0 wins or 20 wins, they're always there. And you look at our attendance, it's still toward the top of the Valley. So people still show up and they're hungry for some winning basketball, and hopefully they can get it turned around.
That's Jevin Redman. You've been watching Voices of the Valley, part of the Valley Hoops Insider website and podcast. We're so glad you've been with us today. Jevin, thanks so much for your time and the great work you do. Listen, folks, you need to figure out a way to listen to the Purple Aces games because you're entertaining. You do a great job. That's one of the reasons I want to have you on. You do such a great job of bringing the sense and the passion and even that sense of community to your broadcasts.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for all that you do, and really enjoyed our chat.
That's Jevin Redman. Folks, remember, since you've been there, make it a better place. We'll see you again real soon.